Marvel fans, I, like many of you out there, were shocked when Kevin Feige graced us with yet again another sweet Moon Knight spot.
I'm so happy!
That little teaser trailer that aired during the Super Bowl was absolutely incredible. And in this video, I want to talk about everything we know about the coming Moon Knight show, why I personally think this will be the best MCU Disney Plus show yet, and it will also serve as a turning point for the Marvel brand. What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerd Avengers Tower. Smash a like on this video if you're excited for Moon Knight and if you're loving the marketing that Disney is currently doing for this show. Because I gotta tell you right away, I personally think that the show looks incredibly interesting, but the marketing that is being used for the show is really brilliant. The marketing for Moon Knight teases a cerebral mystery thriller where the character of Stephen Grant can't tell the difference between his dreams and his real life.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
And that's really cool because on the surface level, this sets up a really interesting character arc, but as a comic book fan, we know this is a slight departure from what we're used to with this character in the book. Basically, the Mark Spector character is a gun for hire, but he has a redeeming moment where he actually stands up for some priests and some local Egyptians. Mark Spector gets beaten to near death and actually is brought by the people of that temple in front of Khonshu's shrine. Mark Spector dies, but is then brought back to life by the god Khonshu because Mark agrees to be his vessel of vengeance in the world. Now, Mark Spector does have multiple personalities in the comic books, but they're actually all created by the Mark Spector character. In fact, the character of Stephen Grant, who is the main dude we see in the marketing for Moon Knight so far, well, that character in the comics is created to be sort of a 1% Bruce Wayne type guy. Mark sells all of the things that he's got over his years of being a mercenary, amasses a big fortune, but creates the persona of Stephen Grant to be that billionaire dude. And this is mostly just so he can know what's going on to further fight crime. He also creates a persona of a cabbie that's Jake Lockley, and this is so that he has a beat on what is going on in the city on the ground level. And so who he really is Mark Spector. He becomes Moon Knight with the power of Khonshu. He creates the persona of Stephen Grant and amasses all of this wealth to try to help fight crime. Eventually, Mark Spector has a mental breakdown and actually develops multiple personality disorder based on some of these personas that he created. And it seems like this MCU show is combining some of these elements. Like, it seems like they're doing this in the future after Mark has had a mental breakdown of sorts, but the Stephen Grant character that we see in the trailers is just some dude who works at a museum. He definitely doesn't seem like a Bruce Wayne type billionaire. Now, if we add to this whole discussion the fact that some insiders have been throwing around references to the Memento Christopher Nolan movie, it really seems like what we will have in the Moon Knight show is a Tarantino-esque story where we're actually going backwards to find out where this Stephen Grant persona is at and how he got there. Because we can clearly see that something is being set up to remind this Stephen Grant character of who he really is. I mean, he actually ends up finding a cell phone and somebody is on the other line calling him Mark. We believe this is the actress May Calamaway, who we've seen in some photographs being shot with Oscar Issac for Moon Knight, and it looks like they are on a job in Egypt. So I really think that when you start to look at all the narrative stuff that they're doing with this show, it is going to elevate it to the level of something like WandaVision. WandaVision utilized concepts from the comic books like the Scarlet Witch's reality warping powers and combined them with sort of a television nostalgia ride. And WandaVision was a big hit show. And even though I have some problems with things that happened later on in that show, I can't deny that that intrigue created by the going through these different television type shows to try to decipher what was actually happening created a really compelling experience and really effective marketing. And I think in a very similar way, the Moon Knight show is going to have a distinct and interesting narrative structure where we'll be seeing letting this crazy dude learn more about who he actually is and what actually happened to take him to the place that he is currently at. And to add into that, you're going to have all this crazy mystical horror type elements. It almost feels like Khonshu is trying to remind Stephen Grant that he's supposed to be the vessel for Khonshu's vengeance. What are you doing working in this weird friggin' museum? So basically think of the intrigue and complexity of a show like WandaVision, but with Batman-esque action and horror elements and mystical Egyptian god stuff. Sounds freaking awesome, dude.
Perfection.
Now, another big reason that I think the Moon Knight show is going to be a massive hit with fans is the dark, brutal, violent nature of the character. We had heard for a long time that Moon Knight was going to be the first Marvel show that got really brutal, violent, and bloody. We were already getting excited when the rumblings of this were happening, but now Kevin Feige himself has weighed in on this fact. In an interview with Empire Magazine, here's what Feige said. He said, "It's been fun to work with Disney Plus and see the boundaries shifting on what we're able to do. There are moments in the series when Moon Knight is wailing on another character and it is loud and brutal. And the knee-jerk reaction is, we're gonna pull back on this, right? But Feige promises that the camera and focus won't recoil from the violence. We're not pulling back. There's a tonal shift. This is a very different thing," he said. And so that just kind of solidifies all those different things that we were hearing about the tone when it comes to Moon Knight. It's definitely gonna be a different thing. It's gonna be brutal. It's going to be violent. And I actually think this is needed at this moment with Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios is at sort of a turning point. I mean, at this point, they're doing so many different things and there's so many new interesting characters that they could develop stories around. There is certainly a question of how are they actually going to be able to do all of this stuff? And with a character like Deadpool coming in, with the possibility of Punisher having content out there, there's a big question mark on will Disney actually let these darker, more brutal characters be their dark and brutal selves. And in a sense, I expect Moon Knight to give us our first look at how far Disney is actually willing to go. And so when we look at this show, we'll be able to kind of get an idea of what they might do with characters like Deadpool, characters like Punisher, characters like Wolverine, but also characters like Werewolf by Night, like Blade, like Black Knight. The supernatural side of the MCU, I think, naturally brings an expectation of more violence, of more scary things, more mature content. So you've got an incredible fan favorite Marvel character coming to the MCU with an awesome actor in Oscar Issac. You've got a really interesting narrative structure, which seems to be resonating in its marketing, intriguing a lot of fans to see how they're going to tell this story. And you've got a moment in time where Marvel is making a tonal shift with this project and showing us how far they're willing to go when it comes to violence and what to expect for the more mature characters and content coming out in the next couple of years. And you add all of that up together, and that is why I expect Moon Knight to be the best MCU series yet and to be a massive turning point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Like this video if you liked it, and make sure you come on by our streaming channel. We do a ton of streams all throughout the week. They're always a ton of fun. You can come by and yell at me or ask me a question in real time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.